Why is it all the way up?
Yeah, Ron didn't hear it. He felt it, but he didn't hear it.
All right. Mayor, we're ready when you are. I know.
Anyway.
I know.
How's our sound?
We should be good now.
Sound. Yep. Okay. Let's call the meeting to order, please. I want to take the roll, please.
Mayor Zakowski.
Here.
Alderman Kittle.
Here.
Alderman Vries.
Here.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Here.
Alderman Montello.
Here.
Alderman Volkert. And I have Alderperson Kraft as absent.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America. Republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with a couple of changes, please. Remove 10.7, 10.8, and refer those back to Public Works, and the 7.1. That from our agenda, please.
I'll second that.
Which ones were those, Pete? I'm sorry.
7.1 and 10.7 and 10.8.
Remove those. And right now, I'd like to have a moment of silence and reflection on Katie Lysing and her family and everybody else affected by this. She was well known by many of the members of our police department here in New Richmond. She patrolled our streets numerous times. It's losing one of our own. So let's have a moment of silence just to reflect on this, what they do for us, our own police department. Every day they go out and they never know what they're gonna face. And Katie did it that night, and unfortunately, her badge was retired, not the way she wanted to retire. So let's have a moment of silence and prayer for Katie. Thank you. Any public comments?
Mayor, nobody signed in.
Yeah, let's get a second and a.
Yeah, nobody signed in for public comment. I have Pete Vries making the motion to adopt the agenda, and who was the second? Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is adopted. Consent agenda. Do we hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Have any public comments, Jim? I don't think we do, but,
So they have to register and nobody has.
okay.
Yeah, right. We're not going to have 7.1 and 7.2. We're going to wait. The district has a meeting right now, so we're going to wait until they arrive. We're going to have a public hearing. The public hearing is open. It's final resolution 0523201, vacating right-of-way south and right-of-way east of Bakken Young.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This item was previously discussed by the City Council. If you recall, you adopted a preliminary resolution. This is a process anytime we vacate a public alleyway, public street, public right-of-way. We go through a public hearing process. If you recall, we did this same thing a few months back with the alley near the BB Lofts building. So in this case, we're looking at right-of-way near the Bakken Young funeral home. You can see on the map that area is highlighted in red. This was part of the process in order for them to construct a garage on the northeast corner of their building in order to help meet the lot coverage requirements for that site. So the recommendation from staff would be to approve Resolution 052301 to vacate the right-of-way as presented.
Any questions on the vacation?
That would not be a public entrance anymore? Is that what you're saying?
It would still be a public entrance to the cemetery.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions? Anything from the audience? Does anyone else wish to speak? Does anyone else wish to speak? Does anyone else wish to speak? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion to approve the vacation?
I would make a motion to approve Resolution 052301.
I'll second that.
Discussion? If not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries? Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Motion passes. New business, preliminary plat application, Fox Run 5th edition.
So the next two items went to the Plan Commission at their meeting last week. The first application is a preliminary plat for the 5th edition in the Fox Run development. If you're familiar with Fox Run, as you enter the development, this would be the first street off to your right-hand side. And we'll pull up the map here momentarily. I think there's one in there. But the preliminary plat is showing the full build-out of the area. The final plat is really up to the developer whether they wish to do the final plat for the entire development or if they want to do it in additional phases. As the map loads, we'll show there are 3 single-family home lots, and then there are 54 twin home units being proposed. There are some comments in there from staff that were reviewed with the Plan Commission. Those have to be addressed as part of their final plat application. So your preliminary plat in some ways is kind of your first draft. This would come back to the Plan Commission, or I'm sorry, to the City Council at a future meeting. But the development itself, here we go. And actually, could you scroll to, there's a page that has, be like red and yellow. There we go. So the red units shown on more the east side of the newly constructed streets, those would be the single-family units. The yellow shaded color would be the twin home units. As part of the final plan application, there would also be a development agreement because there is construction and public improvement. So you can see the new street construction, which would have asphalt. There'd be a sidewalk on the west side of the street shown furthest to the east. And then staff are also proposing having a sidewalk on the south side of Otter Way, which is the street running east-west on the site. So happy to answer any questions that you may have on the project. Otherwise, the recommendation from the Plan Commission was to approve the preliminary plat. There are 20 conditions that are noticed in the report. Again, some of those are very minor, some of those are addressed as part of the final plat application.
Mayor, offer a motion that we approve this preliminary plat application with the conditions that were addressed by the Development Committee.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I have one. We did actually have some neighbors there, and they had the one concern, which I thought was valid. Right now, there's a one entrance, and it goes through the neighborhoods for construction. And they want to know if it'd be possible to have a temporary access. Is that Foxway?
So they were discussing about potentially speaking to the property owner to the south to having a temporary entrance exit off of County Road K. And something, you know, we can't require that as part of the development, but
Exactly.
something that they can speak with the property owner about. There's some pros and cons to doing that. You know, certainly that keeps some traffic off the street, but now you're potentially increasing dirt and dust and things coming up because it's, you know, more of an agricultural field currently. So, was a comment that was shared with the engineer. They said they would certainly discuss, but it wouldn't be a requirement of the.
Exactly, it wouldn't be required,
So-
but there's a possibility you could work it out so they could use that instead of going through the neighborhoods with a lot of trucks and that.
I have a quick comment. I talked to the gentleman in my district prior to the meeting, and I was kind of telling him that I think we made a mistake years and years and years ago with Derrick Addition. I mean, there's really only one entrance and one exit to the whole thing. I mean, to go Paper Jack to all the way to 11th Street. I mean, I think County Road K, not in this plat, not in this addition, but in future additions, we maybe have to look at putting another entrance on County Road K. If it does get as big as it probably is going to, we need to make sure there's more than one access and more than one entrance and exit in this development. And I know we'd have to work with the county to put one all the way through to 64 or 65, is it 65? 64. But I think that would be important in the future to do this. So I think it's really be mindful, not so much of this plat and of this addition, but yeah, the future planning has to be better access for all of the people in that
Because they
addition.
consider neighbors that live there already and.
Yeah, and it's a one in, one out right now, and it's like, the bigger it gets, the more traffic there's gonna be on that one in and one out, and I think we gotta be mindful of that.
Yeah, so on the map that's shown, Coyote Way, that's the street furthest to the east. Long-term, that would extend south and connect to County Road K. But again, that'd be a future plat.
Right. And that's what I told
So-
him. I said, this plat looks fine to me, but we do have to worry about that in the future and have it not so congested on Fox Way. Just, it's gonna be very much traffic in there in the future, so we gotta keep.
Wanted to make a comment about concerned citizens that actually came to our plan commission meeting. You usually don't see many people show up, but a couple of people were concerned and they had talked to their neighbors about it. Want everybody to know about that, and if there's anything.
Yeah, the homeowner who came lives on, I said Otter Way, I meant Squirrel Way, is at East West Street. Currently lives on one of the twin homes there. And I think just was curious about the timeline for construction and not wanting construction traffic coming past his house on a daily basis, so.
We have a motion and a second. Take the roll, please.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Motion passes. Amended preliminary final plat applications, Meadow Crossing, second edition.
So this was a revised, both preliminary and final plat application, was also reviewed by the Plan Commission at their meeting. And if you recall, this was previously platted for twin homes. At this time, they're looking to revise this to take 20 twin homes and change it to 10 single-family homes, just based on changes in the market and the product that they're looking to build. So no changes to the public improvements. There were two conditions noted as part of the staff review. One was just with the final plat for recording purposes, had the name of the former mayor on there, so that has to be revised. And then there was a development agreement recorded for the construction of the public improvements, which references the existing lot numbers. We'll want to have an addendum to the agreement to identify the new lot numbers, which would be lots 95 through 104. So basically, they're striking the current lot numbers and renumbering those. And so just in the future, when we have to look back at that development agreement, should the need arise, there's no confusion about, and we're looking on a map and we see there's some missing numbers on there. So, but the recommendation from staff and from the Plan Commission at their meeting last week was to approve the revised preliminary and final plats for Meadow Crossing Second Edition with the two conditions noted.
Mayor, I'm gonna offer a motion that we approve the preliminary and final plat applications for Meadow Crossing with the two conditions that are listed there.
Second.
And just an observation, you know, it's interesting to me that twin homes, no twin homes, now we want to do single family. And I don't have an opinion about that. It's just interesting, the changing economic forces that are there and housing. And I know there's been, it'd be interesting to find out when was the first twin home built, and this is a rhetorical question. The first twin home built in Richmond, obviously, we've seen, I would say, an explosive growth of that type of housing, and it's interesting to me that I had too many, I want some more single family. Observation.
But the same thing at the Plan Commission, that's a little change.
I think a lot of the community has the same thoughts. Single-family homes are
Like to see
not more, they'd like to see more.
Any other questions? Not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert, Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, future land use map.
So this item went to the Plan Commission actually at their April meeting. If you recall, over the last few months, we've looked at future land use planning in various quadrants of the city of New Richmond. We also previously updated our official map when we looked at those future right-of-way, future streets. And so the future land use map is really looking at, you know, especially more on the fringes of the city limits and in our extraterritorial jurisdiction of you know, what types of land use we see occurring. We gave a lot of special attention previously to the southwest portion of the city, looking at the former turkey farm and portions of Richmond Way by the Business and Technical Park. We've also looked more in the northeast area by Fox Run, some of the connections that Alderman Kittle referenced, you know, looking at how do those streets connect to, in the future, to Highway 64. And looking at even just when it comes to specific land uses, you know, what do we see that area being for, be it residential? Do we need more land for industrial, more land for commercial? And so the map itself is part of our comprehensive plan. Again, it's a living, breathing document, so this map can be updated in the future. We reference this map when it comes to applications for rezoning. Anytime we review a site plan, we want to make sure that whatever is being built or proposed is consistent with our long-term vision for the future. So we had the public hearing review by the Plan Commission at their April meeting. We've had some homework assignments, if you will, in recent months with Plan Commission did a couple work sessions. Ford and Richmond we did some coloring exercises, just kind of saying what do we see some of these areas looking like. And the map that you see before you reflects those changes. And so a recommendation from staff and from the Plan Commission would be to approve the updated future land use map as presented.
I have to say, I was really surprised when I opened the agenda up. This was my map. I think I colored it exactly this way, Beth. And I'm just surprised. I mean, I can almost see my colored pencil lines, but where's my name on there? I don't see.
Well, when things go, when things go
We didn't
bad.
want to do that, but it was yours, we took it, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve Resolution 052302 on this future land use map.
Second.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Motion passes. Water tower number 3 proposals.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff solicited proposals for the design engineering of the water tower project. So the scope of this would be design engineering, permitting, bidding, all the way through bidding. And when we actually look to go into construction, we'd be getting separate proposals for construction engineering and inspection of the project. We received 3 proposals, MSA, SEH, and CBS squared. MSA and SEH have done quite a bit of work in town, so they're pretty familiar with us. Staff scored the proposals, and we had MSA and SEH pretty much equal as far as scoring, with CBS a little farther down the line. We opened the costs, and MSA was about $50,000 cheaper than SEH. So we figured, we felt the quality of service was equal, the scope of the project was equal, and so we used that cost as the deciding factor. We did, in the CIP, have $250,000 budgeted for this, so the 198 does come in quite a bit below what we have budgeted. This was presented to Utility Commission last week, and they did recommend moving forward with MSA at the 198, 300. So it'd be staff and Utility Commission's recommendation to move forward with MSA.
I'd make a motion to approve the MSA contract for $198,300.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I just, Eric, I know it was discussed, not in a formal sense, but the way things look right now, we're probably gonna have a third water tower and we're not gonna be replacing the one we have and basically relocating it. We'll have 3.
Yep. It was more cost effective to build a slightly smaller tower and keep this one in place than to take this one out and build a really big tower.
And we are talking about the east part of New Richmond really kind of going out kind of to the far eastern regions is where this probably would be located.
Yeah, kind of our preliminary location of it was between the Fox Run, Whispering Prairie area. There's kind of a ridge in there. And so if we can get up on top of that ridge, the higher elevation we get, the lower, the shorter our tower gets. So less cost.
And then folks in that part of town, and I'm not familiar with this, but I've heard this before, water pressure can be an issue out there now.
Yep. Yeah,
And
this will,
this would
so
resolve
we're
that.
creating another pressure zone, so that will help the pressures out there.
And timing, if you were to kind of guess, or what
They
we're
take a long
thinking?
time, so that's why we'd like to get started now. So you're probably not looking till end of 24 or early 25 for
3
construction.
to 5 years,
Couple years.
tower would be
Yep,
built.
yeah.
I have one other question. I want to know what Rayanne's going to do with the other $50,000.
I have a question too.
Truck engine.
Are these companies looking for more work now? Is that why there's better bids than you expected at 250?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on workload, who's busy, who's not. This is a pretty specific project, so there's certain teams in these companies are pretty large, so they have, certain teams that work on certain projects like this. And maybe that team wasn't as busy as.
Good for us.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Take the roll, please.
Alderman Volker?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is adaptive management proposals.
Yeah, so this is looking at kind of a first phase for our adaptive management. Adaptive management is helping us meet our phosphorus requirements dictated through the DNR. So we have to remove a certain amount of phosphorus from the Willow River over a certain period of time. Total longevity of the ultimate project is going to be 20 years. However, in the first permit period, we have to show that we've removed around 200 pounds of phosphorus from the Willow River. So we'd like to get started in that planning right now, and then in the next few years, we'll probably actually see some projects moving towards that compliance. We solicited proposals, received 2 from firms that you've heard of already. SEH and MSA both submitted proposals. Staff scored both those proposals, and we felt that the team that SEH was proposing kind of brought them up to a higher standard. They had a pretty well-rounded, robust team proposed to work on this project. So we did score them higher, and then we did open the prices, and they were about $14,000 cheaper than MSA, so it was a pretty easy recommendation to make. Utility Commission did review this last week, and it was their recommendation to move forward with SEH for the cost of $35,796. And we did have about $50,000 budgeted in the CIP for this.
I'd make a motion to approve the SEH as the,
I'll second that.
Discussion. Not take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
yes.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volker?
Yes.
Motion passes. We waived on 10.7,
10.6.
I mean 10.6, yeah, and 10.7.
Oh, 10.6 is next.
Which one are you?
7 and 8.
That's what I meant, okay, yeah. Public Works bucket truck.
Yeah, I almost glanced over that one too. So staff has been kind of keeping their eye out for a bucket truck, just because the costs for them have kind of fluctuated over the year. They did find this used one, and did go take a look at it and test drive it. And they felt it would do a good job of meeting all our current needs. So they would like to move forward with the purchase of this 2012 F-450 bucket truck in the cost of $58,150. And we did have $90,000 budgeted in the CIP for this.
If we do make a motion to approve this, are you going to be doing some sort of a check on it with a mechanic prior to purchasing it? Or do you feel?
Yep, yeah, we'll have it looked over.
That $90,000 you referenced, what were we, and I don't remember, what was, when we put that money in the budget, were we thinking we were gonna buy a new truck or a newer used?
No, I
a
think
new-
we were
A
still-
newer used truck than this one.
A newer used.
I'll make a motion to approve the bucket truck, $1,150 less the $500 deposit.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Looks like we saved about $100,000 tonight already. This is getting good. Take the
We can
roll,
pay down the
please.
debt more.
Take the
the
roll,
rest of the
please.
night off.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes,
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Motion passes. We're skipping 10.7 and 10.8, going to 10.9. Authorization to solicit proposals, historic district design guidelines.
So the city of Richmond has been awarded a $28,000 subgrant by the Wisconsin State Historic Preservation Office. We've received this grant in years past as part of the nomination process for our two newest historic districts, which were the downtown commercial district as well as the East Second Street neighborhood. We do have one previously existing historic district, which is over on West First Street. And so this grant requires no match from the municipality, which is very rare. A lot of grants are 50-50 or it's 25-75. And staff would be seeking authorization from the council this evening to solicit proposals to do that work. We have a list of qualified consultants from the state that we would send the proposal out to. They would respond, indicate whether or not they're interested. Similar to previous requests for proposals, where they'll provide some background about their firm and what their proposed price would be. We'd bring this back to the council later this summer, and the work has to be completed by the fall of 2024. So depending on what consultant is selected to do the work, based on their workload, it might be something that they would already start this fall. It might be something that would continue in the next year, just based on what projects they're working on, what part of the state they're from. It is a little bit of a specialized area. Typically, their staff has background in historic architecture. And so in recent grants that we've received, our consultant has actually been from by the Green Bay area. So just given travel time, now if they're doing another project at the same time in St. Croix County or in our immediate area, they might kind of piggyback off of that to reduce their travel expenses. They might just say, you know, we're booked up, we wouldn't even start the work until November or December of this year. But as long as we meet the requirements for purposes of the grant, that's fine. So the recommendation from staff this evening would be to consider a motion to authorize staff to publish a request for proposals for the Historic Design Guideline project. And those proposals would be brought back to the council later this summer.
What would the work entail? What would they be? When you say
Yeah.
the work?
So we currently have design guidelines for the West First Street neighborhood that haven't been updated in several years. So anytime the Historic Preservation Commission has to consider an application for a certificate of appropriateness, or even if someone's just looking for, say they buy a building on Knowles Avenue and they say, hey, I want to restore it, what should I do? It kind of gives them some guidelines for each specific property to say, historically, here's what that building would have been, in terms of the color scheme, windows, everything about it. And so if there's an application to the commission, they'll look at this to make sure it's consistent with that. But in other cases, it gives just more guidance for the property owner, so that if they are looking to do renovations or give their property a facelift, you don't have a property that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb or something
Yeah.
doesn't fit well with the neighborhood.
Yeah, I know the purpose of it. I just want to know what they actually do. They just give recommendations on what's period piece and what would
Yeah,
look good there.
and for each specific property in the district. So
Really?
they'll literally come and have photographs of the building. They'll do some research to show, historically that building had a porch, or maybe it didn't have a porch, or there were windows and this is the style of frame that they had.
Okay.
In some of these properties, they're covered up today with vinyl siding or more. And so part of that reconnaissance work will be part of their work. A new building, like in the case of BB Lofts, we were still able to look at those documents to say in terms of color scheme, building materials. So even if it is a new building, it's still helpful to have some of that.
Thanks.
Your motion to approve.
I'll offer a motion that we authorize staff to publish a request for proposals for these.
Not to exceed $28,000?
Yeah. Well, I guess when you're gonna request for proposals, I mean, you probably wouldn't put that number in there. It's just if they didn't come back under that number.
Yeah, so we have to spend the full amount. So if the projects come in less, the city could have another project that could still be eligible that we could look to do.
What if they come in more?
But the amount is public because the state,
They know what to bid.
yes.
Okay.
So it may be that you get 3 proposals and they all have the same price or very close thereof. So,
Okay.
but if one does come under, let's say one comes in at 20,000, we have 8,000 left. Let's say
Still
we
more
have our
work.
historic walking tour, and we say, let's update that. We could add that on with the same consultant. We could have a different consultant do that. But again, with it all being state dollars, they've said it's actually administratively easier for them to spend all of it versus
No, I get
having to
that.
come back.
I was just thinking if they all came in at $51,000,
Right, yep.
we'd have to kick in the extra 20.
Yeah, we'd
grand.
have to, yep.
Okay.
Any other questions? Not take the roll, please.
I have a motion from Montello. I still needed a second.
Second.
Thank you.
No, I interrupted the second. I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 598, firearm hunting in city limits.
So this item was discussed at the April meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Included in your packet is a red line version of our existing ordinance. And really the intention of these edits are just to clarify that firearm hunting is prohibited in city limits. The red line language that's currently in our ordinance allows the chief of police to issue a written permit to owners if to hunt or shoot if the chief finds such privilege necessary for the protection of life or property. So we had a request this fall from someone who, the deer eat corn on my property, that's a threat, so I'd like a permit. And it's really not the intention of the ordinance. And really from a public safety standpoint, we really don't want firearm shooting within city limits. So the red line language is just to clarify that. So you can see the language there that was struck. So this was reviewed by the Public Safety Committee at their meeting. They recommended approval. And Craig, if you have any comments, but that's.
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, over the last year, probably 2 deer seasons have had more requests to hunt within the city than we had in the previous 5 years of me being the chief combined. So, I think it's on people's mind. They're seeing bigger deer, and it's just hard to say that there's a safe place to hunt with a deer rifle within the city. Bow hunting is what it is. that ordinance isn't being changed. It's just strictly the firearms.
Oh, yeah. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve ordinance 598.
Second?
I have a question. If this ordinance is broken or there was someone who did fire a firearm, what are the penalties involved with that?
We would just follow the ordinance. It depends, I mean, there's a lot of variables if somebody were to get hurt and things like that, whether it be a state statute or if it would be an ordinance violation, but just firing in the city limits would be an ordinance violation, which is punishable by a fine. I don't know what that is off the top of my head.
Okay,
Um,
but there's corresponding penalties with, thank you.
Any other questions? Take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Passes. Police Department Detective Vehicle Bids.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Deputy Chief Taylor was kind of in charge of this. She couldn't be here tonight. But she did put this out for RFP. It's been through Public Safety Committee. This was approved money through the CIP through the council. We did go out to bids with the local dealerships for a slightly used vehicle to replace our blue detective van that's been in service for around, what year it is, 2015 vehicle, so it's coming up on 9 years old. And so what we've done in the past when we need to replace those detective vehicles is we've been putting it out for a slightly used all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive SUV. We did receive 4 bids back, 1 from Johnson Ford and 3 from Bernard's Northtown. We did find out after we had printed this that the Mazda from Johnson Ford did not meet the qualifications. It's only a 4-cylinder. And then we also found out after the fact that we would have to send that vehicle either to Eau Claire or to the Twin Cities for any service work or warranty work on it, as the warranty wouldn't be valid at any of the dealerships in Richmond. So staff took a look at the 3 proposals. Staff is recommending purchase of the 2022 Jeep Cherokee for $27,999 minus the trade. This is got 5,600 miles on it. It still has 32 months on the warranty. We would be trading the van in for $7,000. We're also recommending that the council approve the extended maintenance plan for $400 and that the allotment of $8,000, which is also in the CIP for equipment installation, would also be recommended.
Is that $8,000? I mean, can any of this stuff off the old van be put on the new vehicle?
Yes and no. The radio will get taken out and moved over. The lighting system in that van is getting pretty old, so we'll do the removal of it ourselves and see what kind of condition it's in and whether it can be reused. We did get a kind of a preemptive quote for the equipment from EATI, not knowing exactly which vehicle that the council was going to approve tonight. We don't have the final numbers, but it looks like we should be able to come in under that $8,000 utilizing the same radio and things like that. So we should be good to go.
Okay,
I'd make a motion to approve the 22 Jeep Cherokee
I'll second it.
for the amount of $36,399 with warranties. And if you can use anything off the other vehicle, that'd be great. But there's $8,000 budgeted in there for the $36,399.
Oh, it's 20. That's the mileage.
I think the 36 is the total cost plus the maintenance plus the lighting and, is that correct?
Yeah, $36,399.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that there. Any other questions?
Does that final number include the trade-in, or was the trade-in that minus the trade-in?
That's the number plus the trade.
Got it.
Roll, please.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Vries?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
And I have Alderman Montello abstaining.
Passes. First quarter 2023 financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have some prepared slides that are in your packet as well. First quarter, from a revenue perspective, was pretty much on target for what we would anticipate. Can you go to the first page? So we had revenues of just under 4 million, sorry, 3,704,000. That's a long ways away today, which is 45% of budget. The largest collection in the first quarter of each year is the property tax collections. On average, it's about 55% of collections that occur. This year, we are trending a little bit slightly higher at 61% of property taxes collected within that first quarter. Also, some of the favorable variances or increases from prior year include intergovernmental revenues, specifically in library funding, which had a sizable increase in revenue stream from prior year, but is on target for budget that was included in the budget. Building permits are slightly down when we compare to prior year, but we would anticipate that we will see an increase as we start to move through second quarter with that. And then obviously with the investment market kind of paradigm shift, we've seen a very significant large uptick in our investment earnings. When we initiated budget this time last year, we were maybe at 1%. Currently, we're at about 4.6% in earnings. So that's a pretty sizable variance to budget, attributing about $70,000 in positive variance to budget as of first quarter. From an expenditure perspective, 27% of the budget has been expended, or $2.1 million. Again, typically we look at each quarter being 25% of the budget, so on track. In that first quarter, we typically trend a little bit higher on the expenditure side, above that 25%, and that's due to just timing of certain expenditures, such as our portion of the ambulance service is fully paid at the first quarter. Insurance for property, general liability, workman's comp, that's a prepaid upfront to in that first quarter. So those are fully incurred expenses that as we move through the calendar year, again, those will even out and track towards budget. Some areas of additional and notable variance to budget, though, did include the plow repairs that we discussed in the fall of 23 or early winter of 22, sorry, where that plow truck, that motor was replaced. That work did not actually complete or finish until 23, so that expense does hit in 23. And that was about $35,000 of expense. Also with the seasonality that we had from the winter that never ended, it seemed like there was obviously some overtime expenses with plowing and clearing snow and ice removal. So we certainly saw that track higher than budget as well. But overall, from where we're standing, we're able to offset some of those increases at this point in time through some more favorable spending in other areas of the budget as well. Do you want to go to the next? So this is just an overview again on the revenue side, and you can go past to expenditures. Fire. Again, we list the fire department by itself because of reporting requirements. It's a fund that is by itself, but we reflected in the financial statements to show the contribution that the city has as well. So for the fire fund itself, the 230 fund, total revenues through first quarter were $125,000, which was 17% of budget. And if you go to the next slide, Christy, expenses were $94,000, I think, or $96,000, which was 17% of budget. So overall, they have a positive fund balance right now of $30,000. Some notable occurrences within that first quarter for the fire department. You'll see some miscellaneous revenue that came in of just under $30,000. That was associated with the closing of the SAP program and the disbursements that now the city is the custodian of, and we're working to distribute those to the members. So you'll see that being an offsetting expense as well when those occur. From a debt perspective, through March 31st, we had just over $500,000 in debt obligations met. That bar graph in your packet shows just our outstanding debt at the end of 2022, which was 15.7 million. Again, that doesn't include, obviously, the issuance that we just did for the electric revenue debt for the substation upgrades. That was $4.5 million as well. That's all that I have this evening. If there's any questions, happy to address any of those.
So overall, how are we looking?
Overall, we're tracking to budget. There are some areas where, you know, from an expenditure perspective, if we have another winter at the end of this year like we did last year, you know, it's going to be difficult to create that neutrality. But if we have a slightly less impactful winter starting in November and December, you know, we have enough months left to hopefully find some areas that we could be budget neutral at the end of this year. But for first quarter, I feel like we're in a good position currently.
That 100,000 we saved tonight help that at all or not?
No, it doesn't. Good question. Different funds, and some of it is financing. So it reduces the amount of financing that we would need.
That's it? Finished?
I have a question. Appreciate getting all this information. How are we doing on 2022? Are you gearing up for the audit for that?
The 2022 audit is complete at this point. So the April meeting, I reported on the fourth quarter results for 2022. The audit itself does not become published until about June. And then that's when the auditors typically will come to and report to the council on 2022 results at the August meeting. So we're on the docket for that. So the June is when they will publish the audited financial statements. And then they usually will come during the August meeting to give the overview or kind of the state of the audit address to the council.
Thank you.
But once we get the audited financials, we certainly pass those along and then we post them right away as well on our website.
Communication miscellaneous?
Yeah, so I will see if Troy Miller would like to attend a future council meeting. I think his meeting may have run late here this evening. They had a special work session, I think, at 5:30 or 6, so he was hoping to be here at 7. But and not to steal his thunder, but the school district is going through a strategic planning process similar to the city. They do have a survey available on their website. Some of you may have taken that, but they still have that available. Their strategic planning process will continue throughout the summer months, and looking for feedback from community members, from parents, from their teachers and staff, just on how to improve the district and looking at long-term goals, moving forward. So I'll see if he's interested in attending a future meeting. He does have a presentation. He's been trying to go out to some of the local service groups, and if you recall, we had our community survey in the fall. I think we had less than 400 responses, and the district serves a larger area, and certainly they want to get as much feedback as possible. So we certainly encourage all of you to take their survey. It takes 5-10 minutes to complete online. And then did want to mention, I sent an email out to the council on Friday. Irv Sadler passed away late last week. They do have a date for the funeral service, will be on May 28th. So it is a few weeks away from now, but it's a Sunday afternoon of be Memorial Day weekend. So Irv obviously leaves both he and Mary leave a big legacy here and have made a significant impact in the community. So just wanted to make a note of that as well.
And we talked about a special meeting on before our tour.
Yeah, so staff will also reach out to the council about potentially having a special meeting this week and potentially a funding request. So more information to come. Something wasn't on the agenda here this evening, but something we may discuss later this week.
Everybody can be there at 10 o'clock? I mean, for going to the
Where are we meeting at?
Oh,
So I'll send out some additional details to the council just on terms of parking and for the later this week for the tour. So
10 in the morning?
Middle of the night, isn't it, Ron?
Oh, that's okay.
I just wanted to add a completely different topic. I was remiss when we approved the consent agenda. Kind of trying to establish a policy of perhaps calling out these donations we get to public safety. And I know it was in the packet. New donations were received for the fire department from Syntagon, Nourishment Council, 2845 Knights of Columbus, Cullen Creek Funeral Home, and Health Partners, Inc. They have received donations this year, that being the fire department, up to $5,770. And then also, Noah, you sent us a note, and just congratulations to Chief Josh Bell for
Yes.
an award that he received.
yeah, so he was recently recognized in lacrosse by the Wisconsin Firefighter Association. He was second runner-up in the state for Firefighter of the Year. He was just featured in their magazine, so we just got the copy of it with his photograph in there, and received a lot of letters of support as part of his nomination from local community members, and very nice, very well-deserved recognition to him.
I just wanted to make mention of that.
If nothing else, we're going to go into closed session per state statute 19.851E.
I'll make a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll second it.
Oh, take the roll, please.
I'm catching up. Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Alderman Vries.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
We're in closed session. Anybody want to take a break?
Yes. Water quick, that's all.
5-minute break?
No, they have 2 minutes.
Can I vote on that, Jess?
We got you.
That mean it's over?
One more time.